What's up guys, Brad Chappell back with you. Top 3 setups for the month of May. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about May. We're towards the end of the spawn. The fish are starting to get a little bit more lethargic. They're not wanting to move locations a whole lot. They're wanting to start to kind of rest up. Some of them are still spawning, but a lot of them are into that post-spawn stage. So the name of the game for the month of May, for me anyway, is to change the locations a lot, keep moving. And even if I find an area that has a lot of fish, I want to fish them quick and move on to the next area. Don't stay in one area too long in the month of May, and you will put more fish in the boat just by keep changing locations non-stop throughout your day. So stay tuned, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn your notifications on, and let's hit it.
In the flatland like a man.
All right guys, my number 1 setup for the month of May, no surprise to probably a lot of you guys, will be long line trolling. It lets me cover a lot of ground really quick, changing locations, finding active fish, fishing for them, and keep on moving. Now I like to do things a little bit different in May than compared to some other months. I like using an overbite non-bladed jig head. Now this is the Crappie Pro overbite jig heads, and they have them in a 1/16, a 1/32, and a 1/48, which that means these jigs are going to fish really shallow. So if I pull 2 1/16 at 1.2, we're only talking about 8 foot deep. So I can get these baits anywhere from about 8-9 foot deep all the way as shallow as 2 foot deep. And the reason why I'm wanting to pull shallow is I'm still going to kind of target that mid shallow area. I want to be able to pull my baits over some stumps, over some brush, and keep on moving. Cover a lot of water is the name of the game, and long line trolling lets me do it. Now right now I've got on the 1/16 on the top side here with the blue ice. That's just been a really good color of mine here lately. Really clear water for Mississippi anyway. This color is just deadly, especially on sunny days. Now on the back side, I've got a 1/32 ounce. And I like to have the heavier jig up front and the lighter jig in the back. And the reason behind that is, as this jig's getting pulled, this being a little bit heavier jig, it's gonna go down, and this one behind it's going to go vertically directly behind it. So it's going to kind of stay in line with each other as they're being pulled. 1.2, 1.3 is a really good speed to do this month. I'm using a K9 6-pound fluorocarbon line that's just a really tough line that, you know, just helps me put fish in a boat. Check them out at k9.com. And also use the discount code CC10 to get you 10% off K9 fishing line. I've been using them from live scoping to long lining, just a really good all around line for you guys. But long line trolling in the month of May, definitely a ticket. All right guys, my number 2 setup for the month of May will be casting a jig to brush piles and stumps. Now you'll come across an area that you'll find a stump and brush piles really loaded with crappie. Now one of the keys for me is to hit and move. So I'm gonna hit an area, cast about 15-20 times, catch as many off of it as I can, and move to the next. So I like sitting back from them anywhere from 25 to about 35 feet and just pitching a small crappie magnet, tiny denser jig head to it. Now I like using, if I'm casting single jigs, something with a blade on it, just way I can actually help see it and visualize it a little bit better, and actually just helps catch those aggressive fish. You might not catch them all once you see them on a stump, but your first 4 or 5 casts should be the best. If you're going to catch them, it's going to be then. Now a good little kit to utilize is the Crappie Magnet Fin Spin Kit. They come in a 1/8 and 1/16. You can kind of see the colors inside there. But just a really good kit to get out there with some crappie magnet, tiny dancers, and catch crappie through the month of May. But Kind of use the mentality, hit them and move, hit them and move. Don't stay at one brush pile or one stump too long. Catch the active fish off of it and go to the next. All right guys, my number 3 setup for the month of May will be targeting some of these last spawning fish. Now they'll be sitting on brush piles or a stump, but I actually call them kind of breeder stumps. You've heard me utilize that term before. It's not every stump's gonna be loaded. So I'm looking on live sonar, I'm seeing a stump that has a few fish left on there still spawning. These fish have been beat up here lately, so they're a little bit spooky and a little bit lethargic. So I want to use a really slow presentation. So I'm getting the Crappie Magnet frog hair fixed bobber. It's very adjustable and reusable is the main key of this thing. I set it at the fixed height that I want it right here, utilizing a Crappie Magnet Popeye hair jig head. A very small jig, wanting a really slow presentation to them and trying to get these finicky fish to go ahead and bite. So I'm not wanting something to drop right on top of them. I'm gonna cast past to them and slowly bring this little hair jig just right over the top of them really slowly. Now this will trick these fish that's been beat up and highly pressured to go ahead and commit and bite. A 1/64 ounce Crappie Magnet Popeye jig head with a frog hair strike indicator bobber. Now pole wise, I'm using a B&M Bucks super stiff crappie rod, and this is a very light setup, so I need something that I can rear back and actually hit it really hard with to get it casted out. Now I'm not trying to cast 50-60 feet, I'm trying to cast more like 20 to 30 feet away from these stumps and just slowly bringing them back over top. If you see this bobber move at any point, set the hook, bring in the fish.